The incredible stolid rationalist Epictetus once said, "The key is to keep company as it were with individuals who elevate you, whose nearness calls forward your best." You've likely listened the saying, "You're the normal of the 5 individuals you spend the most time with." Well, nowadays we're going to investigate that thought through a stolid focal point. We will examine the 7 sorts of individuals who can wreck your advance in impassive logic, and how to explore these challenging connections. Sometime recently we start. I would appreciate if you would like the video so that you can offer assistance me to proceed spreading the stolid reasoning. If you are not subscribed, I suggest you to subscribe and activate the chime so you do not miss any videos. Sort of individuals. Number 1, the complainer. We all have that companion, family part, or coworker who appears to discover blame in everything, whether it's the climate, their work, or indeed the nourishment at a well-known eatery. They never miss an opportunity to express their disappointment. Presently you might ponder, why ought to this concern me? I can fair disregard them. Well, that's simpler said than done. Steady presentation to such pessimism has a depleting impact on your mental well-being. It's associated to a cracked fixture, gradually draining your supply of passionate vitality. Stoicism educates us to center on noteworthy arrangements instead of staying on issues. For case, envision you're collaborating on a extent with somebody who is a ceaseless complainer. Each assembly turns into an debilitating session of complaints. Without any helpful discourse, the effect, the team's resolve decreases. You're diverted from finding significant arrangements, and you'll likely discover yourself progressively upset with the venture and conceivably indeed life in common. So how does Stoicism offer assistance us bargain with a complainer? There are a few procedures you can utilize. To begin with, constrain your introduction to this person at whatever point you can. If that's not conceivable, maybe since they're a family part or colleague, at that point your moment choice is to rationally separate yourself amid their revolvement. Think of their complaints as a passing storm, uproarious and unsettling, but eventually transitory and feeble, against the unmovable mountain that is your claim inward tranquility. Your third alternative is to direct the discussion towards arrangements, or to alter the subject to something more valuable. To cite Marcus Aurelius, you have control over your intellect, not exterior occasions. Realize this, and you will discover quality. This immortal stolid shrewdness empowers us to watch our mental peace perseveringly, guaranteeing that the pessimism from persistent complainers doesn't go astray us from our impassive way of strength and ideals. Sort of individuals. Number 2, the show magnet. Envision you're exploring your life as if it were a dispatch cruising through calm waters, but at that point you experience the whirlpool known as the show magnet. This person appears to have an unending arrangement of emergencies, clashes, or contentions, and like a whirlpool, they have an unsettling capacity to suck you into their vortex of chaos. You might at first discover yourself pulled into the dramatization magnet's vitality, mixing up it for enthusiasm or fervor. Be that as it may, you'll before long realize that being in their circle is like exploring a dispatch through a storm, debilitating and unsafe. Presently, what makes managing with show magnets so precarious is that their emergencies can frequently feel like you're possessed. Their chaos is irresistible. You might indeed discover yourself involved in clashes that you had no starting portion in. Let's take a down-to-earth illustration. You have a companion who has visit fallouts with others in your social circle. Nowadays they're not talking to Sarah. Tomorrow it's Tom. Your companion comes to you for exhortation, but you take note that this cycle never closes, and abruptly, You discover yourself moreover at chances with Sarah or Tom since you attempted to mediate. In this case, you seem utilize a procedure called intelligent tuning in. Instead of advertising counsel or taking sides, reflect their words back to them. For illustration, if they say, "I can't accept Sarah said that almost me," you might react with, "So you're feeling sold out by Sarah's words." This method permits you to give enthusiastic bolster without getting ensnared in the show yourself. Another approach, and one that might sound counterintuitive, is to end it up specifically inaccessible. Stoicism reminds us to esteem our time profoundly, and now and then. That implies being inaccessible for other people's emergencies, particularly if they're repeating without determination. Turn off your phone amid certain hours. Make center periods where you concentrate exclusively on your work or individual improvement, and let it be known that amid these times you're not to be irritated. To summarizing Seneca, genuine bliss is to appreciate the display, without on-edge reliance upon the future. This can be especially accommodating when managing with dramatization magnets. Instead of restlessly pondering what emergency will happen another, concentrate on the display minute where you have control. Appreciate your life, and do not let it be disturbed by somebody else's dramatization. Make it a point to cruise your transport calmly, controlling clear of whirlpools that undermine your voyage towards individual development and tranquility. Sort of individuals. Number 3. The naysayer. Picture this. You and craftsman portray a canvas. Each brushstroke includes color, profundity, and life to your vision. Enter the naysayer. They walk into your studio, look at your work, and promptly start to study it. Are you being in any doubt? Almost that color? That doesn't seem practical. You know, most craftsmen never make it. What? Their words, like strokes of gray paint, begin to gloomy your dynamic canvas. This isn't your standard helpful feedback, which can be profitable. Instead, it's a diligent atmosphere of question and cynicism. For illustration, let's say you're energized, almost seeking after an unused career way. You've done your investigate, spoken to experts in the field, and perhaps indeed taken a few preparatory courses. When you share your eagerness with the naysayer, they rapidly list all the reasons it won't work out. The advertise is as well competitive. Do you have the right abilities? What if you come up short? Before long sufficient, their questions begin to feel like your claim, and the confident vision you have begins to wobble. Presently, how do you bargain with a naysayer? Particularly when they might be somebody near to you. One offbeat but successful strategy is to inquire them for exhortation, or maybe then fair sharing your plans or goals. When individuals are put in an admonitory part, they're less likely to assault your thoughts through and through, and may offer more useful input. Another strategy includes flipping the script through a method called positive showdown. Instead of retaining their cynicism, challenge them to think of arrangements. If they say, "You'll never be able to switch careers at this organize," counter with curiously point of view. How do you think somebody seem effectively make a career alter at that point? This not as it were diverts the pessimism, but to energizes a more useful shape of discussion. Keep in mind the words of the impassive logician Epictetus. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can tune in twice as much as we talk. Tuning in doesn't cruel retaining everyone's pessimism. It implies observing profitable input from insignificant clamor. When the naysayers begin to cloud your canvas with their shades of question, take a step back, tune in, reflect, and proceed. Portray your possessed life with the colors that talk to you. Do not let anybody turn your dynamic magnum opus into a gloomy gray scene. Imagine life as an amusement of chess. Each player has the same pieces and the same objective: to checkmate the opponent's lord. You think deliberately, make a few penances, and take a few dangers. The casualty, be that as it may, vaults the board, the pieces, or indeed their rival for each destitute move they make. In their eyes, they're ceaselessly in checkmate, not since of their choices, but since of a few outside constraint working against them. Their account is a never-ending story of misfortune, with themselves cast as the defenseless hero. I can't get ahead in my work since my boss detests me, or I can't get feet since I have terrible hereditary qualities. Presently, it's vital to note that a few individuals confront honest-to-goodness hardships and systemic issues. Be that as it may, the casualty we're talking about employments. They're bind as a lasting pardon, denying to take any obligation for their activities or need thereof. You might discover yourself entrapped in their storyline, maybe as the supporting character who always needs to protect them. Let's say you've went through endless hours tuning into a companion fall, their unending string of fizzled connections totally on their ex-partners. Not as it were does this suck up your time, but it can moreover unobtrusively empower you to receive a comparative casualty mentality in your possessed life. So, what's your move when managing with a casualty? It might be enticing to gotten to be their savior, advertising unending counsel and enthusiastic back, but the Stoics would caution against this. They'd suggest drawing a firm boundary. To secure your possessed mental state, you may utilize a procedure known as compassionate separation. Appear sympathy and thoughtfulness, but do not attempt to protect them from circumstances they require to explore themselves. Offer a tuning-in ear, but abstain from getting to be their ceaseless issue solver. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best vindicate is to be not at all like him who performed the bad form." If you discover yourself sucked into the victim's account, stand up to the encouraged to gotten to be one yourself. Take control of your claim amusement board, make your moves, and keep in mind, in the chess diversion of life, being ceaselessly in checkmate is regularly a choice, not a destiny. Keep your pieces moving forward, make key penances when essential, and play not for exact retribution or feel sorry for, but for development and shrewdness. Sort of individuals. Number 5. The poisonous positivist. You know this individual. They're continuously radiating daylight, rainbows, and perpetual streams of emojis. They're the ones telling you to be upbeat when you're going through a troublesome period, rejecting your sentiments and encounters with a cocky wave of glittery positive thinking. Imagine your life as a plant. There are blooms, but there are moreover weeds and bugs. A poisonous positivist, in any case, demands on overlooking anything that isn't a sprouting rose. Got aphids on your takes off. First center on the blossoms. Do not let pessimism into your plant, they'd say. Whereas it sounds elevating, their approach can make you feel negated and disengaged from reality. Assume you're going through an intense breakup. You're pitiful, confounded, and looking for a few enthusiastic adjust. The poisonous positivist's exhortation. There are bounty of angle in the ocean. Fair grin and be upbeat. This sort of intemperate inspiration ignores the complexities of human feeling and the substances of life's challenges. How do you develop your plan without letting the harmful positivists trample it with their unpredictable sprinkling of great vibes, as it were? One methodology is to lock in them in a discourse that grasps both light and shadow. If they say, "See on the shining side, at slightest you have your well-being," you might answer, "Yes, I'm thankful for my well-being, but it's moreover affirmed for me to feel disturbed almost this particular issue." Both can coexist. You can utilize what clinicians call enthusiastic granularity, the capacity to feel and separate between a wide extent of feelings, both positive and negative. When the poisonous positivist pushes you to be cheerful, take a minute to recognize and name your nuanced sentiments. I'm feeling a bit melancholic nowadays due to X, and that's affirm, can be a freeing certification. To reference Stoic thought, Seneca once said, genuine bliss is to get at our obligations toward God and man, to appreciate the show, without on-edge reliance upon the future. Take note of just understanding obligations, which aren't continuously charming, and getting a charge out of the display. A Stoic approach isn't around centering exclusively on the positive or the negative. It's approximately grasping life's complexity with poise. So the following time, the poisonous positivist sprinkles their confetti on your carefully tended cultivate. Take a step back. Keep in mind, a cultivate needs both daylight and rain to thrive. Grasp your full passionate range, and keep sustaining your cultivate with the abundance and complexity it merits. Sort of individuals. Number 6. The controller. Picture your life as a motion picture script. You're the primary character, and you have thought of how your story ought to unfurl, where the turns are, who your partners and tutors are, and what your last act looks like. Enter the controller, the shadowy maker who quietly modifies your script without you indeed realizing it, until one day you discover your storyline has veered off course. The controller is talented in the craftsmanship of enthusiastic or mental maneuvering. They might utilize bootlicking, blame trips, or indeed misdirection to direct you in a course that benefits them. You might have a companion who continuously oversees to get you to pay for supper by saying something like, "You know, I've been having a harsh month, and you're so effective. It wouldn't cruel much to you, but would make my day superior." Over time, you discover that your liberality has been taken advantage of, but calling them out feels awkward, since they surrounded it as a favor to a companion in require. Taking care of a controller can be a dubious commerce. One strategy to check their strategies is what a few specialists call hazing. This strategy includes concurring with any truth in the manipulator's articulations, but denying to be moved by enthusiastic impelling. If they say, "You're so fruitful, you ought to cover supper," you might react, "You're right that I've been doing well, but let's part the charge," as we more often than not do. Another approach is to set clear boundaries and uphold them. If the controller needs you to loan them cash, or commit to errands you're awkward with, learn to say no confidently. Keep your tone calm and your words clear. "I can't loan cash, but I'm here to offer enthusiastic bolster," sets a boundary, whereas keeping up the fellowship. Drawing motivation from Stoic thought, Epictetus cautioned us, "We cannot select our outside circumstances, but we can continuously select how we react to them." The controller flourishes on your unsurprising responses. They control your benevolence, your blame, or your crave for endorsement. By choosing to react in an unexpected way, you're taking control of your script once more. So, if you discover a controller hiding in your life, keep in mind that you're the one holding the right. Your storyline is yours to compose, and whereas the cast may incorporate an assortment of characters, the protagonists travel. Your travel ought to continuously be guided by your possessed values and choices. Recover your script, and do not let anybody control your life story. The Time Vampire. Envision your day-by-day schedule is a carefully made ensemble. Each instrument speaks to an errand or commitment, and when played together, they make a concordant adjust. But at that point, the Time Vampire joins in, shrieking off key, suffocating out your tune, and turning your excellent composition into harsh commotion. The time vampire is not fundamentally noxious. In reality, they might appear very kind. It seem be a colleague who continually hinders you with minor questions, turning your beneficial workday into an arrangement of divided minutes, or it might be a companion who welcomes you to endless social occasions that you're not interested in, making you feel committed to go to and deplete your time and vitality. These intelligent might appear insignificant in the minute, but their total impact can be significantly troublesome. So how do you secure your orchestra from being destroyed by a time vampire? One successful procedure is the Pomodoro procedure, a time administration strategy that includes breaking your work into interims, customarily 25 minutes, isolated by brief breaks. Amid these interims, you make it clear that you're not to be irritated. This sets a boundary that ensures your most profitable times from being snacked absent. If you discover yourself managing with a social time vampire, keep in mind that saying no is not fair or firm. It's basic for your well-being. Instead of advertising expound pardons, a straightforward, "I appreciate the welcome, but I can't make it," suffices. Declining and welcome is not a dismissal of the individual. It's an certification of your claim needs and needs. In the words of Seneca, life if well lived is long sufficient. Stoicism educates us that time is one of our most valuable assets, one that ought to be designated admirably. It's the canvas upon which we paint the representation of our lives, and we ought to be profoundly particular, approximately who and what merits a stroke of our brush in the amazing composition of your life. Take being any doubt each note, each instrument, each song adjusts with your more noteworthy reason. Don't let the discordant interruption of a time vampire toss your orchestra into confuse. Hold the twirly-do solidly and conduct your life with reason, guaranteeing that each minute is a note well played in your concordant magnum opus. As we reach the finale of today's investigation into the characters who can crush our way towards impassive flexibility and intelligence, let's not disregard that self-awareness is key. It's simple to recognize these sorts in others, but the more challenging and illuminating assignment is to see inside. Are you maybe inadvertently playing one of these parts in somebody else's life? Keep in mind, Stoicism isn't fair approximately exploring the world. It's to almost understanding and making strides ourselves. If today's dialogue has started a realization, an epiphany, or indeed fair a bit of contemplation, I'd adore to listen from you in the comment area. Write your contemplations, share your encounters, and let's lock in a discourse that improves us all. So until another time, may your choices adjust with your excellencies. May your activities reflect your intelligence, and may your life be the magnum opus you're implied to make.